Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone. Before we go straight to the presentation, I would like to introduce myself because if we don't know each other, then we're not close. If we're not close, then we don't love each other. So, my name is Basair Farli. I'm a student of UIN Alauddin Makassar. I was born at 27 March 2002. You can see my contact in this slide. You can follow my Instagram also, and you can contact me in WhatsApp. So I have a community story that I recently joined, such as like member of Equinsa, member of Hipermawa. I also have a hobby, of course. First hobby, I love to listening music, and then the second hobby, I love to watch some Netflix series or movie. So I also have a life motto that called "Hold the world before the world holds you." I move to the next slide. The question that we discuss in this presentation. Sometimes we feel confused with learning a foreign language, especially the person that's still in the beginner. So here are the questions that we will discuss in this presentation. So first, what's the benefits? Why do you have to learn a foreign language? As we see learning English, we already know what the benefits are from the work field. But what about the other language, such as Mandarin, Japanese, or even French? So what are the benefits? The second is, what's the trick? We will learn how to make effective learning, and there are results. We learn not just enter the right ear and out the left ear, because there is a term like that in Indonesia. Number 3, how should we learn? Of course, everyone is different. In this presentation, we will explore the types of learning which will help according to your abilities and your characteristic. Next, we move to the next slide. When we learn a language in general, it must be very wide. Now let's try to narrow it down to 3 things, so it's not too wide. First, how do we learn a foreign language from the basic? If we are already beginners, how to develop it? Because the approach is different from the zero and with the learning that already has the basic. I can say it is very different because, for example, when we learn from zero, we learn A, B, C, and if we already have basic, we learn E, F, G. So it's quite different. Number 2, what are the advantages of knowing a foreign language? Not only knowing in here, but also mastering a foreign language. Number 3, what are some tips and tricks to keep you motivated to keep learning a foreign language? Yeah, when we study, we are often lazy and tired of studying a foreign language because we are required to activate all brain cells such as speaking, listening, reading, and also writing. Next, what you can see in this slide. This is a map of a language in Indonesia. In Indonesia, there are more than 750 languages, and it is the second largest after Papua New Guinea. If we compare it with Europe, Europe only has 230 languages on one continent, while Indonesia as a country has 750 more languages. So we are live in Indonesia. It means we are already familiar with the diversity of language. When we want to start a new language, it's not something that is a bit difficult for us because we're already familiar with various languages. So it turns out that the Indonesian tongue is quite flexible in imitating the sound of foreign language. For example, when we compare it with Vietnamese and Chinese, they tend to find it difficult to imitate the sound of a new language. Like Japanese, they find it difficult to imitate the L sound, Otherwise, in Mandarin, the R sound is less clear. For example, the Mandarin people want to learn Spanish, which is Spanish. There are a lot of sound that sound like R. So in Mandarin, they difficult to learn a Spanish language. Well, the Vietnamese have a thick accent that sometimes that accent hard to remove. So this is our privilege compared by other nations. So we need to be grateful for this. Next slide is the different way to learn between beginners and intermediate or advanced. So let's move to the beginners first. To the beginners, we focus on the foundation as well as we want to build a house. The first thing we have to build is a strong foundation of that house, so our language understanding will be strong. First, learn and master the 300 essential words. What I mean here, memorize some vocabulary that we often use. From here, we will easily learn words that are technical in nature, related to certain context and certain things and others. Number 2, focus on pronunciation. We need to learn a pronunciation because often we don't focus on pronunciation. So when we are at the intermediate or advanced levels, it is difficult to improve it. So that's why we have to really pay attention for this. Number 3, the learning materials are structured by following the didactic pattern of language teaching. So studying in a structured way so that the foundation is strong before continuing to intermediate or advanced. So we have to know the basic grammar first before we jump into intermediate or advanced level. So we move to the intermediate and advanced. So here I mentioned at the first, it's quite different. How do we learn from beginners to we learn intermediate or advanced? First, learn how to express opinions, argue, and debates. For example, there are issues that are popular. We can put out our opinions, such as what is your opinions about online school or online class. The point here is that we have to express opinions and argue, so we can improve our abilities in speaking, especially in speaking. So number 2, learning materials are more free by reading on news channel, listening to radio broadcast, and watching movie. So in such a digital era right now, we don't find it difficult to search the materials of learning a language. So why don't you use it? Just search it on the Google, on the internet, or whatever device that you want to use. So next slide, benefits of learning a foreign language. We need to know that learning foreign language is a bridge. So the goal is not just mastering. After that we're done. It's not like that. We want to be a bridge to become something. So the first in here, opening the door of knowledge more broadly. When we go to the library, we often see books in English because English is an international language. Knowledge is written in English. Our access to learning knowledge becomes bigger. That is an example in English. Another example in Dutch is we learn this because we want to study history, because a lot of our documents are written in Dutch. For example, the Bongaya Agreement in the Museum City of Makassar. Or in terms of religion, Arabic is an important language that cannot be separated from Quran and Hadith. So that's why language is bridge to bigger knowledge. And number 2, facilitate career paths. In the working world, we must often communicate with other companies and sometimes with foreign companies, especially if in the industrial world. I think Mandarin language is quite important. The trend has gone up. Previously, it was not feasible, but now the trend in Mandarin is extraordinary. So one of my recommendations, if you want to learn a foreign language, I suggest Mandarin, because it's already starting to show that in the future Mandarin is enough perspective for the career path. Number 3, reduce the risk of Alzheimer's. What is Alzheimer's? Alzheimer's is a kind of constriction of the brain volume. People with Alzheimer's disease tends to forget something easily. By learning a language or by absorbing foreign language vocabulary, it helps us not forget easily. So number 4, understanding the point of view of other culture. Here, of course, every language has its own culture, because language must be tied to the mindset and culture of the country. Next, how are the tips? First, learn according to the rhythm of daily activities. We have to adjust it too. If we are a student, what our learning style is like. If we are already working, what is the learning style like? So we must be study according to the rhythm of our breath, so that we are not stressed and not burdened. Otherwise, it will be difficult for us to learn maximally. Or we can learn at the night time, or we can learn at the right time. For example, whether at night, in the morning, or in the evening. Whether we like to study with music or quietly without distraction. So it's depend on you. Number 2, don't compare yourself to other, because everyone has different language skill, and it doesn't mean that, for example, A is good at English. In the end, B is more stupid. Maybe it's not like that. It could be that the A good at speaking, and turn out it not too well at grammar. So we don't have to feel inferior or to other people, because we have our own skill at language. Number 3, learning is a continuous process. Even we were at a high level, because there are new development in the language. There are new words, new terms. So the language grow up and develop more and more. So number 4, focus on the process, not only the end result. Because if we wait for the final results, so that we want it instant, it will be difficult. I guarantee you it will be difficult. I don't believe of people tell you that you can learn for example English just a month or even 1 week. At least we have to know what is the purpose we learn this language. So let's see the goal first. At least we need about 1,500 to 2,000 hours to be proficient. Number 5, make it routine. What I mean here, that we need to make a schedule when we are comfortable to study. Every single person have their own way or comfortable time to study, so find it yourself. And number 6, we must have high discipline. The meaning of discipline here does not mean tense. It means learning to speak in a fun way, to the point that we forget that we are studying. For example, we watch movie without subtitles. Actually, we learn that language without knowing what we learn about that language, even though we don't realize it. Number 7 is use a variety of digital learning materials. We can use materials on the internet because now we are in the digital era, different from the previous era that they don't have this privilege. So we have to bless. We live in such many information that we can get easily. Number 8, look for interesting learning topics. Here, we adjust it to our style. For example, some like to watch movie, then watch movie. Some like to listen to music, then listen music. So learning a language is closely related to our behavior. So find out what kind of method that you want. The next slide is learning methods. In here, in this slide, I mentioned 5. So take what is suitable for us and apply it. If it is not convenient for us, then leave it, because we can be stuck in one method only. So first, reading in a foreign language. We can open and read news portals, books in English, or read articles about artists that we like. Second, ask something in a foreign language, then answer it. We usually ask questions in a foreign language. Why don't you try to process it in a foreign language? Because when we speak a foreign language, we also think about it foreign language. Number 3, learn idioms or phrases. It's also important to learn idioms. Sometimes the words that are written don't match with the meaning of the words that have translated. For example, time is money. What does that mean? Can time be made into transactions? Which is not like that. So idiom also is quite important. Number 4, describe the picture. We often see picture on Instagram, so why don't we try to describe what we see in that picture? This is also one effective way because it's easy to access. Number 5, simulation of writing letters, emails, or postcards. There are some people who really need to activate their artistic abilities. So when writing letters, they make decorations, or postcards are decorated and pasted because they are more interesting to look at, because they are seen and because they are seen every day and eventually understood and even memorized. So this is only a little part of the methods that I convey. You can try to explore the methods according to what makes us comfortable. So I think that's it for my presentation. Hopefully the presentation that I convey can be absorbed, imitated, and modified according to your comfort and confidence. So I would like to end this presentation with Imam Shafi'i quote that say, "If you can stand the pain of learning, then be prepared to the pain of stupidity." So that's all for me. The last I say, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.